Welcome back to another edition of Ping Pong Flix Tidbit. This is about Batman v Superman, Civil War, Justice League, Avengers, Endgame. Now, when Batman v Superman came out that same year, Marvel also made another movie, and they called it Captain America Civil War. Now, there were a lot of rumors coming around that some of that story from Batman v Superman was leaked over to Civil War, and that's why these movies were very similar. You got Batman fighting Superman with Lex Luthor in, going and doing this secret planning and being the evil villain in the background, where you had almost the same thing with Zemo in Captain America Civil War while Captain America and Iron Man were fighting. They also have one thing in common. One was the Bucky and the other one's Martha. So there's similarities in there as well, and also in Justice League and Avengers Endgame. Now, when I talk about Justice League, I'm not talking about the Justice League that was released in theaters. I'm talking about the Justice League that Zack Snyder had talked about. The Justice League that Kevin Smith talked about on his channel. The Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Which have some similarities to the Avengers Endgame. Now, if you really looked into the story, there are things that are the same, and there are a lot of things that are not the same. Now, we can go into shot by shot and how Batman v Superman Avengers Endgame, but I'm going to let Film Gob do that because he does that best. Sir John Aaron Garza also does that better than me. But let's take a look at these stories. Justice League would have a time travel story. It would have had a hero sacrificing himself story. It would also have a hero who comes with a child, and it would have all those little things. Now, Batman was going to sacrifice himself in Justice League Part 3. Iron Man, Stark himself, sacrificed himself in Avengers Endgame. There was a time travel element where they had to go back in time in the Justice League movie, and Kevin Smith had detailed this all. Even Zack Snyder had also detailed this on his panels. Avengers Endgame, they also do the same thing, also bringing in DC's multiverse idea into Endgame. There's also a story about how in Justice League, Kevin Smith had detailed this, where they went to Apokolips to fight Darkseid, failed, and then took the fight to Earth. That kind of happened in Infinity War. In Infinity War, they took the fight to Titan, Thanos' world, failed, then took it back to Earth at the end of Avengers Endgame. And even though it's possibly not the apocalyptic future that they were going to do in Justice League, that 5 years later is sort of apocalyptic if you really look at it. Half the population is gone, the world is in damage control, and it's just not the same. So there are those story similarities. If Kevin Sujihara's balls weren't cut off, he would have actually let Zack Snyder have made this Justice League Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and we would have seen those similarities very much almost the same as Avengers Endgame. Now, I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories on if any of that leaked from one movie studio to the next, but we do see these things happen from time to time. Armageddon came out, Deep Impact came out the same time. Both movies with asteroids coming towards the Earth. And the Ants cartoon movie and A Bug's Life came out the same time. Both stories about ants. Okay? Well, even worse one is when White House Down came out. Olympus Has Fallen came out the same year. Both movies about the White House getting invaded by terrorists. How weird is that? And so if Warner Brothers had really done Justice League how it was intended by Zack Snyder, you would have got Justice League Part 3, Avengers Endgame, and we would have almost had the same movie back to back. Infinity War would have been Justice League 1 and 2. that would have been the same as well. What an incredible coincidence, if you will. There are rumors and conspiracies how different stories are leaked between the different studios, and they were able to make films and see whoever tops the next one. They have those moments as well. It's something to be questioned about, but it does happen from time to time. And I think if, like I said, if Warner Brothers had the balls to do Zack Snyder's story, we would have had a similar situation when Avengers Endgame came out. Now, it doesn't mean one's more successful than the other. I'm merely just stating that this has happened before in Hollywood. All right, guys. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think that there was a chance that Justice League Part 1, 2, and 3 were almost similar to Civil War, Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame? Do you think there was a script that leaked from one to the other? Or is this the same coincidence that we've seen time and time again in terms of movies coming out? Armageddon, Deep Impact, Ants, Bugs Life, White House Down, Olympus Has Fallen. It has happened before. Would it have happened again if Warner Brothers had the guts to actually go through with Zack Snyder's cut? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.